Aaliyah stood trembling before the shimmering nexus, a sphere of cosmic light suspended in the heart of the galaxy. Its glow pulsed in rhythmic waves, casting flickering shadows across her pale, determined face. In her hand rested a small, sleek device, a trigger, designed to erase the very fabric of time. Behind her lay ruin, debris drifting in the emptiness, remnants of ships torn apart, planets scorched by centuries of relentless war. Human civilization, once spanning countless stars, now clung desperately to survival, locked in endless conflict with the alien Varaxis, a species whose ambition matched humanity's resilience. She lifted the trigger slowly, its metallic surface, cold and heavy, feeling like it weighed 1,000 worlds. Her heartbeat echoed louder than the distant explosions. Aaliyah knew what had to be done. Every battle, every loss, had led her to this moment, to a decision no human should ever make. Static crackled in her earpiece, then a panicked voice broke through, raw with urgency. "Aaliyah, stop. Don't do this. We're still here. We can still fight." Commander Dorian's voice was strained, yet unmistakable. He had been her mentor, guiding her through the brutality of war, always reminding her of humanity's strength. Its stubborn refusal to surrender, she hesitated, eyes closing briefly as memories surged forward, faces she had loved and lost, cities turned to ash, children who'd grown up knowing nothing but war. Humanity had fought valiantly, brilliantly even, but still the Varaxis came, endless waves of merciless destruction. "Commander," she whispered softly into the comms, her voice quivering with emotion yet firm, "it's too late. Every second we fight, we lose more of who we are. There's nothing left to save." Dorian's voice broke. "Aaliyah, please." She squeezed her eyes shut, biting her lip until it bled, tasting iron and grief. "I'm sorry." Her thumb trembled over the trigger. The nexus beckoned, radiant and terrifying, pulsing with the weight of infinite futures and pasts. One press, and the universe would unravel. Every atrocity, every moment of suffering gone, erased as though never real. She drew a shuddering breath, her mind resolved. "Goodbye." Aaliyah pressed the button. A blinding wave surged outward from the nexus, swallowing stars and shadows alike. The explosion of cosmic energy rushed through her body, a searing pain unlike any she'd imagined, tearing apart reality itself. She gasped as time ceased to exist, as sensation faded, and consciousness dissolved into oblivion, and then silence. Utter, absolute silence, no light, no darkness, no sensation, yet, impossibly, she felt aware. Drifting, unmoored, in an empty void, she existed without form or flesh, consciousness alone, in an infinite nothingness. Aaliyah wondered briefly if this was death, or something far worse, punishment for playing God. Suddenly a voice pierced the silence, gentle yet powerful, resonating from everywhere at once. "Why did you erase your existence, child?" The voice startled her, yet comforted at the same time, like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. "I had no choice." Aaliyah's thought answered instinctively, projecting her emotions outward. "My people suffered too long. Humanity, the Varaxis war without end. I couldn't bear it." The voice seemed thoughtful, curious. "And so you decided that nothingness was preferable to suffering." "I decided peace was preferable," Aaliyah countered, her essence trembling. "Even if peace meant oblivion." A pause followed, stretching into eternity. Aaliyah felt its scrutiny, its infinite attention fixed solely upon her. "Your sacrifice was noble, yet naive. You erased time, but existence itself cannot be undone so easily." Confusion surged through her consciousness. Then, "What have I done?" "You have paused reality," the voice explained gently. "The nexus is a key, child, not a weapon. You misunderstood its purpose. It preserves realities, not destroys them." Dread twisted within her consciousness. Preserved. But the war, the suffering remains, the voice finished sadly. "Trapped in stasis, frozen in the moment you pressed the trigger." but existence yearns for motion. Life, for better or worse, must move forward. Aliyah felt overwhelming despair. Then, I've failed. Not yet, the voice reassured her gently. You've disrupted the cycle, offering a single chance to reset the course of history. But this chance comes at a great cost. What cost? The voice hesitated, its sadness profound. To restart time, you must sacrifice your place within it. You will cease to have ever existed, erased completely. Your family, your friends, none will remember you. Aliyah absorbed the enormity of this burden, yet her resolve held firm. Will humanity survive? Can the war end? That is beyond even my sight, the voice admitted softly. But it is a chance. A chance. Aliyah had lived her entire life, believing humanity always deserved another chance. She had destroyed time itself to find it. And now, though it meant losing herself forever, she realized she would do it again without hesitation. I accept, she whispered, her voice firm with conviction. Whatever the cost, I accept. The voice embraced her warmly, sadly. Very well. Be brave, child. You will carry humanity's resilience in your sacrifice. Light burst forth again, searing, brilliant, painful, and Aliyah screamed as reality violently snapped back into place. She opened her eyes and saw a sky she had never known. Aliyah gasped as air filled her lungs, real air, crisp and cool. She staggered forward onto grass, wet with dew under a sky unfamiliar yet beautiful. 3 pale moons hung low on the horizon, casting silver light over towering red-leafed trees, swaying gently in a soft breeze. She fell to her knees, heart pounding. She was alive, not in the void, not erased. But she shouldn't be here at all. The last thing she remembered was surrendering her existence to restart time, an act of final sacrifice. She'd accepted it, welcomed it, yet now, she breathed. She could feel. She pressed her hand against the earth and wept. A shadow moved nearby. Aliyah looked up sharply, instincts from her years in the war sparking to life. A tall figure stepped from between the trees, humanoid, but clearly not human. Its skin shimmered, with deep purple undertones, and its angular face bore markings that pulsed faintly like veins of starlight. Veraxis, her muscles tensed, but the alien raised its hands in peace, eyes wide with something she couldn't immediately place. Was it confusion? Ah, you are not supposed to be, the Veraxis said in perfect standard, its voice low and strangely melodic. You were erased. Your presence defies the stream. Aliyah stood slowly. You remember. I remember everything, the alien replied. I am Archivist Thren. It is my duty to monitor the streams of flow of time, the sequence of events, and you were not in it. She took a wary step forward. Then why am I here? Thren tilted his head. Perhaps because you broke it, and someone did not want you gone. Aliyah's heart twisted. I was told I'd be erased completely. Perhaps you were, Thren replied. But something greater intervened. The stream has fractured. Reality is rebuilding around you. She turned slowly, taking in the strange land. It was Earth-like, but not Earth. The air was breathable. Gravity was normal, but nothing looked familiar. This isn't my world. No, Thren confirmed. You are at the edge where all rewritten timelines begin. Aliyah's breath caught. You mean, this is a new timeline? I created it. You catalyzed it, Thren said, stepping closer. But it is unstable. Without your existence, as a fixed point, the stream is bending around itself, looping, folding, forgetting. Aliyah frowned. Then what happens now? That depends, Thren said softly, on whether you can become real again. Aliyah blinked. What? You were a ghost, Thren said, a forgotten idea. But your consciousness returned before the stream settled. It remembers you, barely. That's why you're here now, but not for long. If you do nothing, you'll fade. Aaliyah's knees weakened. I gave up everything to give humanity a second chance. And you have. Thren nodded. But chance is not destiny. The humans of this timeline are different. Their war never reached the stars. Their history never knew the Viraxis. Shock rippled through her. They don't know what's coming. No, Thren said grimly. But it's already begun. The Viraxis highborn, those untouched by the reset, are seeking a path back to dominance. They've found cracks in the stream, and your presence. It opens more. Aaliyah stared at him. So I've doomed them again. No, Thren said. You've been given one more choice. Become part of this world, anchor yourself here. Guide them, warn them. Her mouth felt dry. How do I anchor myself? Thren stepped forward and offered something from within his robe, a glowing crystal shard pulsing faintly with color. This contains your echo, a memory of who you were in the old timeline. Touch it, and you will remember everything, Bet. Once you do, you must live here, as if this world is yours. As if you belong. Aaliyah stared at it. And if I refuse, you will fade completely, Thren said. And the humans of this timeline will face extinction again, without knowing why. She hesitated. But if I become real, I could disrupt this new history. I could ruin everything. Thren nodded. Yes. But humanity has always survived disruption. It has thrived on it. She looked at the shard, her reflection rippling in its surface like a dream barely held. A choice. Again. But this time, she wouldn't be sacrificing herself to end everything. She would be sacrificing peace. To begin again. I won't fade, she whispered. She took the shard. It burned in her palm, scenes, voices, pain, love, all flooding back in a tidal wave. Her old timeline surged through her mind. The war, the losses, the last stand at Orion Gate. Her mother's last words, her brother's dying breath. Dorian's face as she vanished. Tears streamed down her cheeks. But when she opened her eyes, she was still there, real, anchored. And in the distance, beyond the trees, lights flickered on the horizon. Human lights. A settlement. She clenched her fists. If this was a second chance, she wouldn't waste it. The human settlement shimmered ahead, white domes, nestled among alien hills, glowing gently beneath triple moons. Aaliyah stood at its edge, in borrowed Viraxis robes, the crystal shard now a pendant against her chest. Every breath she took felt borrowed. Every step was both familiar and foreign. The air buzzed with quiet life. Drones zipped silently between towers, and humans, real humans, laughed, traded, worked. No war machines, no scars of conflict. Just people, living. Aaliyah's heart clenched. This world had never seen the war. Not yet. A guard approached her at the perimeter, name and purpose. Aaliyah hesitated. What could she say? My name is Aaliyah. I'm a traveler. Lost. The guard studied her, then motioned toward a nearby scanner. You'll need to register. Visitors are rare here. Aaliyah passed through security, keeping her breath even, hiding the chaos boiling in her mind. The scan flashed green. She was clean. No history, no background, just as Thren said. She didn't officially exist here, inside the settlement. It was peaceful. Greenhouses lined the walkways. Children played under artificial mist. Scientists discussed soil samples and power grids. It was a paradise compared to the worlds she had known. But Aaliyah saw the cracks. She saw the weak defenses, the outdated sensors. No orbital shields, no planetary weaponry. They had no idea what could come through the stars. She needed help. She needed someone who could listen, someone who might believe the impossible. She followed her instincts to the central library dome. There, among holographic terminals and archives, she found a man reviewing star charts. Gray streaked his beard, and his eyes were sharp, too sharp for a peaceful man. Former military, Aaliyah guessed aloud. The man looked up, startled, but not alarmed. And you must be a psychic then. Just observant, she said, stepping closer. You walk like someone who's fought. The man studied her. I was a fleet commander once, retired early, got tired of waiting for wars that never came. She sat across from him. What if I told you one is coming? A war you've never seen. One your people aren't ready for. He chuckled. Sounds like a line from a bad play. I'm serious. His expression shifted subtly. You don't have a file? No ID? No background? Yet you speak like someone who's seen hell. I have, Aaliyah said quietly. I've lived it. I come from a timeline that no longer exists. His face didn't laugh this time. He looked at her carefully, and something flickered in his gaze: curiosity, suspicion, maybe even belief. Name's Elias Cade, he said finally. I used to believe in destiny. Maybe you can convince me to start again. They spent hours talking, Aaliyah, detailing the war, the rise of the Veraxis, the extinction-level battles. Cade listened without interruption, nodding slowly, eyes tightening, as she described things no one else should know. You said you triggered a Nexus event, he muttered. That tech's theoretical, fringe science. But my wife believed in it. She was a physicist. Disappeared 6 years ago during a temporal experiment. Aaliyah flinched. I'm sorry. She always said time could be fractured, rebuilt. That someone could be left behind in the repair. Cade leaned forward. Maybe that someone is you. They fell into silence. Finally, Aaliyah asked, if I told you the Veraxis have already begun breaching this reality, would you help me prepare for what's coming? Cade didn't hesitate. Yes. Together, they devised a plan. Cade still had access to old network links, deep system backdoors from his military days. They'd plant warnings in the comms, create low-frequency pings disguised as anomalies, then slowly spread defensive upgrades under the guise of efficiency audits. But time was thin. 2 nights later, Aaliyah felt it deep in her bones, a ripple in the stream, a shift. She ran from her quarters and found Cade already awake, staring at the sky. Above the horizon, a tear opened in space. Not visible to the naked eye, but Aaliyah saw it, felt it. A crack in reality. They've found us, she whispered suddenly. The sky roared, a thunderous sound, not atmospheric, but dimensional. Cade grabbed a scanner. Energy surge. Off. The charts. Not natural. I need to go to the breach, Aaliyah said. Cade grabbed her arm. Are you insane? We're not ready. They're not coming for Earth. They're coming for me. I'm the crack. And she ran. She raced past domes and gardens, past startled colonists and sirens just beginning to wail, toward the hills beyond the settlement. The tear in space grew wider, and then it opened fully. A Veraxis cruiser emerged, shimmering into the sky like a wound bleeding metal and hate. Aaliyah froze, breath gone. They had followed her through time. A voice boomed from the ship. Not in words, but in a psychic scream. You do not belong. Aaliyah stood firm. I do now. And as the Veraxis charged weapons, Earth's sky split open with first contact. The second timeline's war began. The Veraxis cruiser hovered like a god above the world, its hull dark and veined with living metal, pulsing with red light. Columns of distortion rippled downward from its underside, as gravity stabilizers locked into position. Panic swept through the human colony. Alarms screamed. Drones scrambled. But they weren't prepared. Aaliyah had been right. This Earth had forgotten war, and it showed. Cade's voice cracked through her comms. Aaliyah, fall back. We need you alive. I can't, she panted, sprinting up the rocky ridge just outside the city. They're here for me, Cade, not the others. If I run, they'll tear this place apart just to find me. Then, what's your plan? He growled. I'll make sure they don't have to. She reached the ridge's crest, chest heaving, and stared directly into the bloodlit eyes of the descending Veraxis warrior. It was enormous, 9 feet tall, plated in obsidian armor, eyes like coals burning in a frozen face. Its voice boomed across the valley, not through sound, but straight into her thoughts. An anomaly walks the stream, unwritten, unapproved. You fracture the order. Aaliyah didn't flinch. Then maybe the order needs to be broken. The warrior hissed and leaped forward impossibly fast. She dove to the side as its energy blade seared the stone where she had stood. Cade's voice came again, urgent. "I've got pulse turrets online. I can draw its fire." "No," she yelled, rolling behind a jagged outcrop. "This fight is mine." She pulled the crystal shard from around her neck. It flared bright, and in that moment, time shimmered around her every breath. Every heartbeat slowed as if space remembered who she had been. She had no weapons, no armor, no command, just memory and will. The Vrox's warrior roared and lunged again. She ducked low, reached for the shard and slammed it into the ground. A burst of temporal force rippled outward, throwing the warrior back, distorting the world around them. In that frozen instant, her mind connected to the stream again. She was standing in a memory field, an ancient remnant of the Nexus itself. Everything she had lived, every life lost, every world destroyed, bloomed in the field like echoes of light, and from them rose a shape, human, familiar. Dorian, not the man she left behind, but an echoan imprint of her commander, built from what she remembered most. He stared at her solemnly, arms folded. "You weren't supposed to come back." "I didn't mean to," Aaliyah said, trembling. "But I have to fix this." "Then stop hiding," the memory said. "Be who you were." The field dissolved. She opened her eyes and understood. She stood as the warrior approached again, slowed now, wary. She let go of fear, let go of doubt. She let herself become the version the Vraxis had once feared. General Aaliyah Wren of the human outer command, forged in fire and time. As the warrior raised its blade, she moved fast, faster than a human should. She ducked, spun behind it, tore a pulse grenade from its belt, and slammed it into its armor. The explosion ripped it sideways with a concussive roar. Cade's voice came again. "What the hell was that?" "Just me," she said, panting, remembering who I used to be. More Vraxis poured from the ship. Dozens, hundreds, not just soldiers. These were purifiers, lead timeline enforcers. Their weapons shimmered with paradox charges, their movements bending the air around them. Aaliyah's vision blurred. She couldn't take them all. But she didn't have to. Across the sky, streaks of light tore through the clouds. Missiles. Earthborn. The colony had finally answered. Explosions rocked the hillside. One of the Vraxis ships reeled, breaking formation. Behind it, new fighters screamed into viewed human models from the first timeline. But they still flew. Aaliyah looked down to the colony and saw Cade, his gray beard catching wind as he stood beside a freshly activated rail cannon. "You said they came for you," he said through the comms. "Well, now they've got me too." More humans joined him, engineers, miners, scientists, no trained soldiers, just people refusing to run, and, in that moment, Aaliyah remembered what humanity had always done best: survive, adapt, defy. The Vraxis ships regrouped, rising again. But this time, they were met with fire. Anti-air turrets rained plasma. Fighters cut through the clouds. Cade roared through the channels, light up the sky. Aaliyah sprinted toward the command post, dodging debris, heart racing. "We can't win this head-on," she told him when she arrived. "But we don't need to." "What then?" "We send a message across the stream. Let them know Earth is awake." Cade nodded. "We've got a long-range beacon, hidden under the archives." They ran. Inside, Aaliyah synced her shard with the ancient transmitter. It hummed with power. She entered coordinates ones, only she remembered. Coordinates to other worlds, other echoes, maybe even the first Nexus. She pressed send. A wave of light pulsed outward somewhere, someone would hear it. The war had begun again, but this time, humanity wasn't fractured. This time they remembered. The beacon's pulse rippled across space, not through radio waves, but memory, a signal, not just to the stars, but to timelines forgotten, rewritten, collapsed. And in that signal was Aaliyah's voice. Not a command, not a cry for help, a reminder. We are still here. The Vraxis warships paused, not halted, but hesitant, as if they too heard it, as if deep within their engineered minds, something trembled. Aaliyah stepped away from the transmitter, sweat streaking her dirt-smudged face, her hair windswept and wild. Behind her, Cade-coordinated civilians, now turned soldiers, transforming greenhouses into bunkers, research drones into scouts. Humanity once again was adapting, but the sky still burned. A second cruiser descended, larger than the first. Its core crackled with blue lightning. This one didn't send soldiers, it sent her. Aaliyah's blood ran cold as the air shimmered, and from the heart of the ship floated a Vraxis woman. No armor, no weapon, yet radiating command. Her skin was laced with gold-threaded markings, her eyes glowing with time itself. She didn't walk. She hovered, barefoot, robes trailing behind like smoke. Aaliyah knew her name before she spoke. Sarathe, the Warden of Streams. Aaliyah had seen her once in the forbidden data archives of the old timeline, a legend, a myth, the one who enforced the integrity of the universal flow. You defied oblivion, Sarathe said, her voice resonating like harmonics in crystal. You tore yourself free from erasure. Aaliyah stood her ground. I gave everything to stop a war. You just rebuilt the same pieces in a different order. Sarathe floated closer. This universe was not meant to hold you. You are an echo that corrupts all around you. No, Aaliyah said, fire in her voice. I am a memory, a seed. You erased my people's pain, but you erased their strength with it. Now I've returned it. Sarathe extended her hand. Come, with me. Rejoin the stream. Restore balance. The longer you stay, the more this timeline splinters. Aaliyah glanced around. To Cade, limping as he helped a child to shelter, to the humans hauling scrap into barricades, to the stars above where more Vraxis ships flickered into existence, watching. Balance, she said bitterly. You call that balance? A galaxy where peace is forced through forgetting. Where humans live as shadows of themselves so that the Vraxis can reign unchallenged. You are destabilizing everything, Sarathe whispered. Good, Aaliyah said. Then she took a step forward, placed a hand on the shard around her neck and, squeezed. Light exploded from her chest. Time buckled, not destruction. RECONNECTION. The shard wasn't just memory, it was a thread, a line linking her to every version of herself across the stream, and now she pulled, all at once. Across fractured timelines, other alias awakened, in forgotten worlds. In collapsed Earths, in simulations. 1, 2, 3 dozens, hundreds, each one touched by war, each one erased, and now all of them remembered. Sura, they staggered. What have you done? I reminded the universe who we were, Aaliyah said. And we still are. From above, the Vraxis ships began to stutter, some flickering in and out of existence. Others reversed direction entirely. One crashed into a mountainside, imploding in a burst of paradox energy. Sarathe tried to rise higher, but the sky rejected her. You cannot unwrite what is written, she screamed. I just did, Aaliyah whispered. The storm of memory ripped through the colony. Not chaos, but clarity. People stopped, looked at each other, and remembered what humanity had been in. Another world. What they were capable of. What they could fight for. And the colony, once fragile, stood like iron. Sarathe dissolved into light. The sky cleared. The beacon pulsed one final time and fell silent. For a long while, no one moved. Then, Finally, Cade limped up to Aaliyah and handed her a flask. You just rewrote the universe. You deserve a drink. She laughed, exhausted, taking it with shaking hands. I didn't rewrite it. I just reminded it who we are. He stared at her for a moment. You're not from here. Not really. You never were. I know. You going to stay. She looked toward the horizon. Beyond the hills lay silence now, but stars still blinked above and she could feel the cracks still mending. No, she said softly. This timeline belongs to them now. My part's done. He reached out and shook her hand. Then thank you for giving it back to us. She smiled, stepped back, tanned, touched the shard one last time. The world shimmered, and then she was gone. No death, no body, just a soft imprint on the wind. A week later, a child in the colony asked Cade who had saved them. He looked up at the stars and simply said, a woman who was never supposed to exist. And in the memory fields beyond the stars, time flowed forward. This time with humanity fully awake,